I am telling you that what Isaac is saying is completely 110% correct. He could be a belligerent, abusive alcoholic, but as long as he's still showing up to the meetings, even if he doesn't have a tie, they would still respect him more than if he was an apostate or if he was a non-believer. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be part 10 of our review of this Judicial Committee meeting for supposed apostasy on the part of Isaac. We're in part 10, so I'm guessing if you're here, you've been through parts 1 through 9. So I'm not going to fluff this intro. We're just going to go ahead and jump right in. And so, as always, go ahead and grab a cup of tea. That's good stuff. Alright, and let's jump in, guys.
Alright. You see, you are saying that this organization does that. This book says that.
Yep.
This book says that.
Are you convinced that the book, the organization is trying to follow the Bible as closely as possible?
You see,
No, because there was Demetrius, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was going around knocking people out of the congregation, and Paul had to come and remove him. You know, and I think that love trumps policy, and I think that if somebody just disagrees, they shouldn't have to be expelled and lose their entire family if they disagree with a teaching. Because what's more dangerous to the organization is that teaching.
Okay, I'm going to hang out here for a second. Okay, so Isaac is saying, I think that love trumps policy, and I think he points to some example in Scripture where someone is being, running around rampant and just kicking people out of the congregations and stuff like that. I would need to research that again. I'm not familiar with that passage, but what I am saying is, like I said in part 9, there's such a thing as church discipline. That does exist. That is a thing. But I'm going to look up the Scripture. I'm going to paraphrase for the moment, but basically, that person does not hold any sort of leadership role in the congregation. It doesn't mean that they are a ghost to you. It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to greet them on the street. It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to have them in your home, even though the Watchtower will try and take these scriptures out of context and twist them in a way that would make disfellowshipping seem like a loving arrangement. It's not. And again, they're twisting things to fit their purposes. So the problem that Isaac is having right now is he doesn't know what church discipline is because he's never studied with an actual Christian or a Christian church. His only experience is with disfellowshipping, which, he can tell just based off of his experience that it doesn't make sense, not in a real world context. So I'm going to jump over and I'm going to see if I can grab that scripture real quick, and then we'll continue on. Okay, so I found the verses I was looking for. So I think the one that they frequently cite is Matthew 18, and this is going to be 15, and I'll just continue reading on. So it says, a brother who sins against you. If your brother sins against you, go and show him his fault just between the two of you. Sorry. If he listens to you, you have won your brother over. But if he will not listen to you, take 1 or 2 others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, treat him as he would a pagan or a tax collector. So the scripture I want to point out real quick is, let's go to 17. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. If he refuses to listen even to the church, treat him as you would a pagan or a tax collector. So again, you're going to have to do a little bit of digging when you're reading the Bible. You need to understand what the historical context was, what the cultural context was, who was Jesus speaking to directly. But listen to that phrasing, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. I don't see anywhere in there where it says that you need to treat them as if they don't exist, and you can't call upon them, and you can't say hi to them, and you can't converse with them. I mean, because they would have interactions with pagans in marketplaces all the time. They would have interactions with tax collectors quite frequently. Now, I know they had animosity toward them, and that's a different subject altogether, but I did want to point that out before we moved on, just because Isaac he's missing the context of what it actually means scripturally, because his only context is through the lens of the Jehovah's Witnesses' practice of disfellowshipping. kind of a long-winded rant. Hopefully you stayed with me.
Spreading, and then the organization loses people.
Do you think that's the organization after?
Well, yeah, because
I
every
think it
seat
would be
that's filled is more money.
I would leave this organization if that was.
Me too.
Well-
Because you understand that those people can come back, and then they can rehab their families again.
I know, but you have to-
And your family has the right to make a decision, don't they? Should
Yeah.
they be forced to do whatever you want?
Well, no, I mean,
Look,
but my
then
family
aren't
should
they
love me.
aren't they exercising their free will then? I mean, because to be honest with you, I'm a parent. I know it's like with children.
Yeah.
And I've seen situations where children want to go do something else, and it breaks your heart. You have to sit there and rejoice about it. But the father and the mother has the right, and you agree, right, to make their own decision. Well, then we don't want to be a part of it, right? So is that what the problem is?
Well, the problem is this.
All right. Sorry, guys. It's so much in here. All right. So he says those people who are upset with how they were treated with the act of disfellowshipping, they've lost their families. Guess what? They can have them all back again. All they have to do is step in line and come back to the Jehovah's Witnesses. So we have another hostage situation, not on the part of Brother Vlad, but on the part of Brother Precious. He's basically saying they can have their families back if they just step in line. And then he tries this weird turnaround where he says, don't the parents have the free will to disagree with what their children are doing? And he's using a family context here, maybe a hypothetical situation. But here's the thing. There are very, very few parents who disobey the orders of the Watchtower and the governing body. Even though they say in some publications that, your children in your home should be, normal family interactions should happen together, but you shouldn't pray together and you shouldn't do Bible study together, which is gross. But there are parents who kick 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 18-year-old kids out of the homes because they're following the direction of the governing body and of the elders and of the Watchtower. Whether they want to admit it or not, there is a culture created in the Jehovah's Witnesses that says you must treat your child like a ghost. They do not exist anymore until they step in line and they become a good Jehovah's Witness again. So, no, the parents don't really have a choice to either love their child or reject their child. That choice is made for them by the governing body.
It's what's taught in the literature, except for the 2009 Awake says that no one should be made to choose between their family and their religion. On page 29, 2009 Awake.
No, not forced, no.
No one should have to be choose between their family and their religion. And so, I'm sorry, I did a lot of...
Oh, I did too.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. He's so smug. Sorry.
But, I told my dad that, and my dad looked it up, and he wouldn't talk to me after he looked it up because he was so angry, I think, that I found that article. And that's the thing is,
I don't think
if we
No,
look...
I don't think so either.
I've spoken to your dad and your mom.
Yeah,
And
but I bet you have, because they
are
were...
so distraught. They are so heartbroken. Your parents are. Now, and I don't have any children.
So real quick, I hope you noticed the body language there coming from Brother Catholic Basher. So when he pointed out, I want to say it's a 2009 Awake, I can't remember right now, but when he pointed out the 2009 Awake where the Watchtower does a PR stunt, a publicity stunt to say that no one should have to choose between their religious beliefs and their family. Again, there's the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses that's secret and known only to them, and then there's the PR stuff that they put out so that apologists like myself and other people who are speaking out against them, they can say, no, look, we have this article. So, when he said, I pointed out that publication from the Watchtower to my father, his father's an elder, about the fact that a person shouldn't have to choose between their religious beliefs and their family, he said that after he showed his father that article, that his father stopped speaking to him because he was so frustrated. And then he saw Brother Catholic Basher go like, it was like weird. It was this weird like, no, you're wrong. And now he's going to talk about how heartbroken Isaac's parents are about the whole situation.
And so I can't say I know how they feel, but I feel for them. Because, that's a difficult thing. It's an extremely difficult thing. But you see, the thing is, people in the world today who don't even know Jehovah's Witnesses walk away from their families for other reasons.
For no reason.
For no
Right.
reason at all. Hey,
Right.
you see what?
Reasons.
I wanted you to be a doctor, and you didn't want to be. Oh, I spent all this money to send you to school. I don't ever want to see you again.
Mhm.
No. Jehovah wants, and again, you see, I'm trying to speak to you on someone that you don't seem to believe anymore. So how are we gonna come to equal minds? Because you see, you have changed your outlook of what this is, and so your parents don't have to go along with it. They can safely. Do you think they don't love you? No, they still love you. They
I would hope
still
so.
love
And
you.
very much.
Your parents,
Very
and
much.
Very
I've
much.
spent 2 to 3 hours at a pool trying to get my work done. But your parents called and asked if they can speak to me.
Mhm.
And I sat there and your mom was crying. And your dad was there, and I'd hear from him every now and then. And I felt so badly for your parents. Because, and the thing is, I'm helpless. I said, look, tell me what to do. Tell me what I can do to help you. You see, your parents have not disowned you. Your parents are hoping that hopefully someday you would come back to Jehovah. You see, you have decided to go down a path that they don't like.
Okay. So I just find it interesting that, he says, I stayed on the phone with your parent. I was trying to get my work done at a pool. And your parents called, and I spent 2 to 3 hours on the phone with them. And your mom was crying. And first of all, Isaac's father is an elder. And he's calling another elder, Brother Catholic Basher. And they're asking him, what should they do? And, the mom is completely distraught, and I understand, because my own mother, she just busts out into tears when we're having conversations about the Bible, because I keep asking her these questions. I keep asking her about the organization. She doesn't like the answers, or she doesn't like my questions, and she doesn't like my answers. So she just resorts to tears. Now, I do think that there's a part of her that loves me and thinks that I'm going to die at Armageddon. But this is what happens as a result of a high control group or a cult. You don't actually take any time basically looking at the refutations against the organization or against faith in general or anything like that. You don't look into any kind of apologetics, so they don't know how to speak to Isaac, because Isaac is losing his faith in God at all. So they don't really know what to do with him, you know what I mean? I just think it's interesting that his father, who's an elder, and Brother Catholic Basher can't seem to have the answers as to how they should handle Isaac. And the truth is, they shouldn't handle Isaac. They should let Isaac figure things out on his own, or they should seek to find answers so that they can help Isaac. That should be the answer.
Mhm.
And so they are hoping that by not condoning what you're doing, that you may
Come to
somewhere
your
down
senses,
that
yeah.
path, all of a sudden, just like this has hit you, and really, Isaac, I'm looking at you today, and you say that this stuff that you have been reading hasn't done that much to you. You are an unhappy person. I can see it written all over you.
Yep.
You are distraught. And if you are not careful, my brother, you're gonna end up. Your mind is gonna explode.
Well, I already passed that point.
Oh boy. Okay. Wow. Can you believe that at the end? All right, so recap. He says, your parents don't condone what you're doing right now, so they're hoping if they ignore you that you'll turn heel and come running back. I don't think that's very smart. Something tells me that's not going to work. I know that's the only thing that they've been taught how to do, but something tells me that's not going to work. And then Brother Catholic Basher has the audacity to look at Isaac and say, I can tell just by looking at you and listening to you. You are very unhappy. And if you continue on down this road, my brother, you are going to lose your mind. And then he said, your mind is going to explode. And Isaac, at the very end, I don't know if you heard him, but he was like, it already happened. That ship has sailed, basically. We've crossed that bridge.
You know, your mind is gonna explode.
Well, I already passed that point. I'm doing better now. I'm doing perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had a lot of help and support from friends that I've been able to make, from work and
Yeah.
stuff.
So
and
you do have people.
But you're not
yeah,
happy.
but
You're not happy.
well,
Isaac.
because I'm in a very distraught place in my life. I need to finalize my divorce. I mean, I didn't want this to happen. I never. I mean, I talked to Robert on the phone a few weeks ago. I don't know if Robert relayed to you, but I never once stopped Britt from going to the meetings. I don't know if Robert told you that, and I don't know if Britt told you that, but I never told Britt, don't stop reading the Bible, don't stop going out in service.
By the way, we never encouraged Britt but to divorce you or something.
No, she tried to kill herself.
Yeah.
More than once when I was married to her. Because when I got married to her, I didn't know she had these issues.
Right.
And these issues are beyond my control.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could take some of the blame for triggering the last occurrence that happened. And after that happened, Nancy came to get her, and that's the last I ever saw her again. The next thing I know, we're not together anymore because she just doesn't want to be with me.
Yeah.
And
Okay, let's take a second here. So real quick, he talks about, he points out a very good thing. And he says, I want you to know that I never told Britannia, that's his ex-wife now, I never told her to stop going to meetings. I never told her to stop believing the Bible. Maybe in like heated conversations or something, because you get pretty riled up when you're trying to tell this information to a loved one. But he never stopped her from doing any of those things. He never told her to stop being a believer. So, and then he said that she had a couple of episodes. Apparently he didn't realize that she had so many mental problems when they got married and or were dating. This is something I want to point out that's it's not unique to the Jehovah's Witnesses, but there is a very interesting statistic out there floating around. And again, it's an almost impossible statistic to peg down, but there is a statistic that says that your average Jehovah's Witness is 4 to 10 times more likely to commit suicide than your average American walking around. Again, the reason that's so hard to peg down is because you don't exactly have to put a person's religious affiliation on a coroner's report or a crime scene report. So I do think that there's a lot of people in the Jehovah's Witnesses who have mental health issues that are not addressed. And the reason they're not addressed is because, again, culturally, you're supposed to be the happiest people on the planet as a Jehovah's Witness. They are never encouraged. I shouldn't say never. I should say they are very rarely encouraged to ever seek help outside of a few watchtowers that the elders will peddle towards you if you have obvious mental health problems. So she obviously has suicidal tendencies, and Isaac said that she tried to kill herself several times. The last incident he will take a little bit of blame for. Isaac, I relieve you of that, because I'm telling you, it's not your fault that your wife tried to take her life the last time that she did, because honestly, her faith was being challenged, but it wasn't just her faith, it was her indoctrination that was being challenged. And the watchtower and the community of the Jehovah's Witnesses is mostly to blame because they don't encourage people to go and seek help when they have obvious problems. So I relieve you of that debt, and we're going to continue on.
The thing is, if I feel that in the eyes of people like my parents, if I was beating her, if I was drunk, if I didn't have a job, it would still be better if I was than being an apostate, than to be somebody that disagrees with what the organization teaches, because I'd still be sitting at the Kingdom Hall, but she would have bruises on her eyes. I would still be a better person. I would still be a better person. Right? Because this
I don't know. But
Listen to them, they're going, and then they start going, I don't know, and they start laughing. I am telling you that what Isaac is saying is completely 110% correct. He could be a belligerent, abusive alcoholic, but as long as he's still showing up to the meetings, even if he doesn't have a tie, they would still respect him more than if he was an apostate or if he was a non-believer. And that is the absolute truth. So high five, Isaac. You're right. And the elders there just confirmed it for us.
But
But that's what I grew up pretty much seeing, because I've seen that in my family, and I've seen that in other families coming into the congregation. Not this one, but in my life, I've seen that particular problem.
There is no.
But the one time somebody turns against Jehovah, turns against the organization, a tail grows out in your butt, and you got horns, and you're Satan.
But you know that is true.
What's that? That I am Satan?
Exactly what you're saying.
That I'm Satan?
You can make yourself exactly like Satan.
Okay.
I can make myself exactly like Satan.
Well, I
That's
mean,
what Satan did.
That's
Satan
exactly
stopped
what
loving
Satan
God. He stopped loving God. And
you
when we
know
stop
how
loving
everything
God,
started?
then we're Satan.
He
He's
lost
right.
appreciation for what Jehovah did for him. The
Exactly.
very
All right, I guess I can. I'm trying to agree to some points and disagree to some points. They just make it really, really difficult for me. They say that Satan made himself Satan. Okay, that is true in a sense. I mean, you have to believe in God's sovereignty. So before God created anything, like before he created you or me, like he knew that I, Brandon, am a free will being. If I wasn't a free will being, then love could not be freely given. So it wouldn't be a loving relationship if I didn't have free will. But before he made anything on the planet, he already knew exactly what I would or wouldn't do. And for some people, they have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. That just means that he's intimately involved in my creation, and he still decided to create me, even though he knew that I would be flawed, and that I would be sinful, and that at one point I would be an enemy towards him. So in the same sense that, yes, Satan is a free will being, he was an angel before, and he turned himself into something different, but Isaac is not making himself into Satan by not believing in God. That's just one sin amongst a plethora of sins that we all commit. And there's really no sin that's held above the other. I mean, all sin separates us from God. So I don't even know where to go with that. Let's just keep going.
first thing that he was brought into existence by Jehovah. When we lose that appreciation, then we start really growing monsters.
He thought Jehovah was unfair. See, you thought what Jehovah did here by killing all these people was unfair. He thought Jehovah was unfair. Hey,
Right.
you created these people here. Hey, come on. It's unfair that you have control over them. I want to have control over them. Why should you? You see what I mean, Isaac? So there are several ways of looking at it. Look, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, so first they call him Satan, and then they talk to Isaac about Satan and what Satan is thinking. Jehovah's Witnesses have this weird fascination with Satan. I mean, that's Satan's everywhere. Like, Satan's in this coffee cup. He's whoa, is that Satan behind me? You know what I mean? Everything is Satan all the time. You get a flat tire, that's Satan. So anyways, first they call him Satan, and then they tell him about Satan. But what you need to remember is that Isaac doesn't believe in the Bible anymore. So why are you wasting your time? Guys, let's just keep going.
But you see, you have choices to make.
Right.
We are not here to tell you, Isaac. You tell me right now. You're this or you're that.
Right.
That's not why we're here.
Well, yeah, I'm glad.
We want to help. We want to help you, regardless of what you read wherever on the internet. That I'll just tell you, in part of the conversation we had Thursday night, and Robert advised us. We are here to help.
Exactly.
You see, that's what our coordinator said. We want to see what we can do to help this man.
So no decision was made before this meeting ever happened?
There
No.
will be
We can't.
Yeah.
We can't. That's the other thing. He says, and I tell you something else. In the prayer that we said together before we came in here, that was what was mentioned. Please help us not to be biased,
Right.
because we are imperfect men just like you. You see, and sometimes it may seem as though we are angry because, and you know about what you just said, but the thing is, think about it. If you are thoroughly convinced about something, Isaac, thoroughly convinced, and you believe this, and somebody else is telling you that that is wrong, how are you going to feel? You get emotional.
Right.
And
I want to get bottom
and
of
I'm
it.
sorry if maybe we did that this evening, and that was not our intent.
Me neither, by the way. I'm sorry if I came across that way.
Our intent.
No, I know your personality. I know how you are. It's okay.
But I was trying to get you to come to, an expression of what it is your bottom line belief, that was.
Yeah, and I'll get to that at the very, I don't want to drag.
Okay, so we'll pause it there. I think it's nice that Brother Catholic Basher apologized for being, how should we put, passionate, okay? But then when Brother Precious comes in and he's like, yeah, me too, I'm sorry. And just to be fair, I was only just trying to get you to get to the bottom line already so that I could go home. I don't believe his apology whatsoever. There's no sincerity in it. I'm sorry. Your true colors have shown through all of these videos. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to wrap it up there. I've chimed in quite a bit. Hopefully I didn't chime in too much for you guys. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching the video, watching it all the way through, your comments, your likes, all of it. Share it with someone if they're unfamiliar with these secret elders meetings proceedings, because I actually don't think that a lot of people in the organization are actually aware of this kind of stuff, especially if they've never been in it. So they wouldn't believe it unless they saw it or heard it for themselves. So anyways, make sure to share the video, guys, if you know someone who it would be helpful to. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a great night, and God bless you.